good definition of Canadian cuisine, that's, my goodness. Some of it's traditional. Maple syrup, smoked salmon, butter tarts. All that sort of stuff is part of the fabric of traditional Canadian food.
There's no denying that people like to eat. Food is the high spot in our daily lives.
But when we look at how food is changing in our communities, it doesn't stay the same. It evolves, it grows, it changes. The communities that we have here now in Canada today are very different than the communities 30 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. It's the people and the place. It's the taste of place. Well, I'm just trying to figure out how to articulate it best, because it's an old Irish proverb. Happiness isn't having what you want. Happiness is having what you got. And if you don't appreciate what you have, then you're less likely to be able to maintain that. And I think in Canada, something that's very important beyond just this idea of food sovereignty is also food security. If we don't have food security, how are we going to feed our nation? And that's something that Anita also was able to pick up on very early on, before a lot of other people.
In your own words, can you tell me a bit about Anita Stewart?
Sorry, that's a big question. Well, okay, let me try. She was feisty, she was passionate, she was determined, she was optimistic, she was an adventurer. She spent time with so many interesting people in so many remote areas of this country, from coast to coast to coast, and Anita had seen it. She'd either traveled by dog sled or boat. She wanted to experience life, and she lived large. So Anita became my very dearest friend. I'll never forget Anita waltzing into my office with a plate of food in one hand and this book in the other, welcoming my role as dean. Well, I wouldn't say I was intimidated. I'd say I was super intrigued. Here was this woman who had such positive energy, and you could just tell she wasn't someone you would say no to. Anita has written so many books. The Farmer's Market Cookbook, Country Inn's Lighthouse Cookbook, St. Lawrence Grey Rock Story, From Our Mother's Canada's Kitchens, Great Country A Taste for Comfort, Northern Bounty, the Ontario Harvest Canadian Cookbook, Cuisine, Flavors of Canada, and Anita Stewart's Canada. The food, the recipes, the stories. It's not just the recipe. In all of Anita's books, it's the story about the person and the place behind the food. Like many Canadians, I recall mad cow disease being on the front page of the paper a lot.
Another devastating blow to the beef industry, DNA testing confirms what Canadian farmers feared.
The U.S. had decided to close its borders to Canadian beef.
BSE-infected animal detected in Washington State in December was in fact born on an Alberta farm.
The price of beef dropped precipitously.
The bidding on beef, what usually takes a full day at this auction, was over in minutes.
A lot of Canadians were concerned about this, but it was Anita who was very, very concerned about beef farmers and what this was going to do to their livelihoods.
I'm needing to sell soon, but not at these prices.
Anita recognized very quickly the crisis in Canada and what that meant to the local producers around her.
It was audacious. She decided to create the world's longest barbecue. It was to say that Canadian beef is wholesome and perfectly safe to consume. And so she challenged Canadians to cook Canadian beef.
Joining us right now is Anita Stewart.
Go to your barbecues, grill Canadian beef, tell me the stories.
Which they did.
Farming is certainly not for the faint at heart. When you face obstacles such as weather, disease, pests, And then something like BSC, having someone champion when you're kind of unable to means the world.
And I know Anita had thought of that as just a one-off event. It just became an annual event to champion Canadian food and all of those that are involved in its production.
You are founder of Food Day Canada.
Yes.
What is Food Day Canada for people who don't know?
It's a national celebration of what we eat here in this nation. If you're Instagramming or tweeting any of your pictures, what you're eating on Food Day, hashtag it Food Day Canada. It shows up on my website so that when people come to me and say, what's Canadian food? There isn't such a thing. I'll say, go there, there is.
I miss her so much.
Honorable colleagues, I rise today to pay tribute to a great advocate, Anita Stewart. Sadly, Anita passed away last week at the age of 73 after losing her battle with pancreatic cancer.
We talked about the things we were going to do when she was better. And so this was a life with so many dreams fulfilled and so many still to come. It was a life cut short. She worked right till the end. She had her goal, and that was to have Food Day Canada proclaimed as a national event.
It's an honor today to rise and speak in favor of Bill 163, Food Day in Canada in Ontario, in honor of Anita Stewart, the founder of Food Day Canada and the inspiration for this bill.
I rise today to speak to Bill S227.
Bill S227.
Bill S227 seeks to designate the Saturday before the first Monday in August as Food Day in Canada.
Bill S227, an act to establish Food Day in Canada, be now read a third time and do pass.
So forevermore, Canadians will be reminded of Anita's legacy and the importance of cooking like a Canadian.
A good definition of Canadian cuisine? Mom said it all the time. Yeah.
There is not one Canadian cuisine. There never has been. There are hundreds, depending upon the ethnicity and the climate and the history. It's ultimately based in the land and in the sea.
So her ideas were big ones that could impact the economy and the lives of everyone.
Those of us in the room who really truly give a damn about Canadian food and its future, our nation's sovereignty, and it is about our sovereignty, and Canada's position in feeding the projected billions of the world well and ethically, are all part of this incredible gastronomic family, inclusive, intelligent, and ready to make excellent and delicious things happen.
Mom was great at bringing everybody together, whether it was around a table or whether it was through her books.
Our Canada is food. Explore it. Dive into it with a healthy appetite. Cook it, taste it, share it, build it. Canada is food. The true north, strong, proud, and absolutely delicious.
Food is such a great unifier. It's communal, it's kind, it's caring, and it's also expressing gratitude. I think those are all super important parts of who we are as a nation, as Canadians.